Welcome into the SorareData Strategy Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare, joined once again by Sean Newsham, PSU Fans 2, today to talk about basically what we talked about last week, except maybe it'll be cheaper. We're not quite sure. The initial feedback from last week's show, where we tried to build an ETH threshold grinding team for $250 or less, was, why are you buying these European players? Asian American players are cheaper now. We should buy them. And we kind of went into it, Sean, of like, we think people want to play now. And so buying cards of players whose games don't happen for another 3-4 months is not that fun. And one of the responses I got from that was, really what people should be doing is buying those cards now, and then also kind of playing the academy and the casual league and like getting used to the game, maybe flipping some cards, and then like really going for it once those leagues pick up. When you hear that, what is your response?
No, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you buying guys that are in those leagues now, like, it could get you a situation where you can move in and out of them. Like, if you are really more worried about getting a better bang for your buck, definitely makes more sense to wait. Because you can move in and out of players probably over the next couple months and like move into the right spot. And that $250 could go like $750 worth of where you could go today. So it definitely makes sense to make that sort of move happen. And I also think, like, in general, you're going to get better guys in Asia and America that will help you reach those thresholds more so than you will now. The only counterpoint to it, and what we sort of discussed last week, is if you do it now and you buy in for now, trying to get it for Europe, that gives you like 4 months to try to collect some stuff for then. However, if you collect, let's say, $100-$200 worth of thresholds over the next couple of months, well, stuff might have went up higher than that because of just the pricing and sort of how stuff has worked because of that. So there's definitely some merit into just going into it now and sort of waiting. But again, it's tough to just be like, oh, I'm going to wait 4 months. It's not the most fun way to approach things.
Yes. So the way that I was looking at it was also just like, I don't think anybody is going to come in and spend $250 and then play the casual league for 4 months. And so, like, you kind of play the casual league to like figure out the game. And so spending the money first and then waiting, I don't know, it just didn't like completely make sense to me in that respect. But I think we both agree that like the prices on Asia and America players now are lower than what we expect them to be when the season starts at the end of February and some March. And that alone could be like an interesting trading opportunity, but waiting until February and March to buy these players, like, your $250 probably is not going to go as far. So if there was enough feedback of like, can you guys do this for Asian America, that here we are to do it. But it's just like, it's very important to understand that we have no idea if prices will continue to go down. I feel like we've seen a little bit of those prices move up. We kind of always kind of agree that before the end of the season is when we see like the actual bottom on the prices. And since those leagues are now over, MLS has 1 game left, then theoretically they're kind of on the way up, but they're not really going to go really push up until January, February. So they are cheaper now. I think we agree that they're not going to be these prices in January, February. If they are, then I think there are other problems that we can't see right now, but we'll go through it. I don't think the strategy is actually going to change all that much versus what we did last week, which included trying to grind thresholds with no goalkeeper. I do want to throw out the possibility, Sean. I want to hear what you think about this. Do you think it's viable to spend $250 today on Asia and America players, sell them all in January, February for European players, and just grind thresholds with the European players from that point?
Yeah, I mean, it's realistic. You could definitely sell. I mean, you could also probably buy the American Asian players and then sell them for double anyways. So it's definitely a question. And I think you could definitely do it. It's just a matter of if you want to play or not. If you don't want to play the game, you could definitely trade. We've talked about trading before. Like, there are very simple trading opportunities on Sorare that are like pretty locked in. They're going to be good opportunities. So it's definitely a situation where I think you have a bit more flexibility from that than otherwise. But I think that there's definitely some merit to that. It's just a matter of how much you want to play or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to at least recognize that right now, like who the players that we think will be good for grinding thresholds in 3 months, presumably we think that they will be valuable in 3 months as well, not just today. I did get a few questions about whether the ETH threshold will exist in this, in 3 or 4 months. The only kind of update that we saw, the kind of the official one, was it's definitely not going away before the end of 2022. These leagues obviously start after that. Nicholas on the SorareData Twitch stream that Maxime and Erwan do, they have Nicholas on 2 weeks ago, I think. He basically said that they don't have like a specific time frame of when that's happening. So I think we just have to keep going as if it's going to happen. And I want to imagine that there will be like a huge amount of lead time between when they announce it's going away and when it actually goes away. So we're treating it as if it's here and it's going to stay, and we're just going to build our gallery from with that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, right, you have to just, it's here till you get told it's not. Because like I don't see it leaving. It doesn't make much sense for it to leave. They have launched 2 other products at this point, and neither of those products are doing as well as the football product currently, despite what maybe is said by other people. But it's pretty clear how much better the football product is than the basketball and baseball product. Obviously, they are obviously in their infancy and they're very new, whereas the football product is years old now at this point. But it's pretty clear that the threshold matters and it's definitely helpful to the game. So it's not something that we are going to assume leaves until we get to the point where they tell us that it's leaving.
Right. Yep. And we're just gonna go with that. Before we jump into the actual process, thank you to everybody who has joined us live. Got a bunch of regulars here. Apologies for the change of time for this week. We're going to hopefully get back to our regular time next week. If you're not somebody who watches or listens live, then the time literally doesn't matter to you. But thank you to everyone who has joined us live. If you guys could please hit the like button on the video, whether you are catching us live or the replay, that's always really helpful. So, Sean, your knowledge of the Asia region is significantly greater than mine, given that I don't even play it anymore. And I think similar to last week, I'm kind of assuming that there are a lot of people who are going to chime in with names in the chat to kind of help us build this gallery. I will say that I put out a watch list 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I'm trying to pull it up here. That I just called like buy lows or something like that. And it was like a bunch of players that I thought would be more valuable in February than they are now. So I have the list here. It's 51 names. For some reason, I thought I had more than that. To give away the secret sauce on this list, what I did was I added players, and on the advanced search, I basically just picked Asia and America, and I did an L15 of 55 plus. And like that was really it. And then I kind of took out some guys I knew if there were some guys who were retiring or that I knew they were switching teams. But the list includes basically everyone in these 2 regions that we're going to talk about today. And the thought process behind this list was these guys are just in the off season. And a lot of times we see prices go up when we get closer to the season. And so it's as simple as that. We actually have seen their prices move up in the last month. So I posted this on, let's see, the 21st. Oh, so it was only 10 days ago. So we have seen it rise a little bit. I'm certainly not here to take any credit for that rise. If it really rises, then I will start taking credit. I'm not going to lie. But you can see that we have this end of season kind of decline that eventually comes back up. If you look at kind of like the all-time list, take out the kind of the noise at the beginning when limiteds came out. And again, these are only America and Asia players that are on this list. We see kind of the October goes down. We hit kind of the bottom in November, December. And then as those seasons get ready to come back, we see it jump back up and then kind of the steady decline. This is also one of the reasons why we see a lot of people who like come in at the beginning of seasons and buy cards, and then they start commenting that their cards aren't worth as much. And it's basically like, well, you bought at the peak of the cycle and now it's not the peak. And so like, it's literally that simple. So I have no guarantees on this list. It's not financial advice, but I do think it's like something that people need to appreciate, that when we're leading into seasons, we see prices go up, or at least we have previously. And that's why we think the prices of the players we're going to talk about today should be higher, if only because it's now 4 months from the season instead of 4 weeks.
Yeah. So a question people might have is like, they'll be like, well, last year it dipped off a little bit earlier. He went back up a little bit earlier. Last year's season went later. Yeah. So that's why it's like that a little bit. But like, as Laird showed, it's already on the slight uptick. So in theory, based on what we have seen for 2 years thus far, we should see these guys be up to higher price points in the next 3 months. So like by the time we get to late January, early February, these guys in theory should hopefully be back to that spiked spot that we've seen in March. So like, as you guys see, like it's done the same cycle twice. Well, it's done the same cycle once. It looks like it's starting to do that same cycle again here. Right. So it's just a matter of if it's going to happen like that. And like Laird said, we have to go based on how this cycle looks and perceived. If things are not like this and this isn't how it happens, then maybe we have other issues to look at instead of this. But like, if you look at the first one and comparatively to the second year, those graphs are pretty much exactly the same. Like they literally, like even the weird little indents and whatnot look pretty similar.
It's pretty similar, yeah.
So I think it's going to be a pretty interesting spot to see if we get the same thing. But as you see, it looks like it is starting to have that sort of that trajectory. So we'll see a slow ramp for the next 2 to 3 months, and then we'll get a hard spike ramp for like a month, and then things will tail off again as the year goes. So the August, September spike of 2020 was just kind of like, if I remember correctly, that's like when ETH tanked out a bit and stuff maybe changed a little bit. And that's why we saw that like mid-season sort of spike, and then it stabilized from there. But as you see, it just sort of stabilized, right? Like it didn't go back down, it just stayed there. So it was more so like it was correcting itself to that point, and then it just stayed there consistently.
Yep. I will add that we kind of put an emphasis on MLS when it comes to America, and we shouldn't ignore that Liga MX is coming back in January.
Yes.
We don't have nearly as many licensed teams in Mexico than they do in the US, but it's still some. And it looks like Argentina might be back in January as well, which is phenomenal news for me. And I will happily take that, since I have a bunch of those guys there. So I think we'll actually skip those guys for the most part, because the time frame for when those leagues return is obviously much shorter. That doesn't mean that their prices are already moving up. I think if you look at a few kind of like key players from those leagues, they're kind of like almost forgotten, partially because it feels like the season ended like a week ago. But we are going to focus more, I'm guessing, on MLS and then K League and J League for the Asia cards for this purpose. The more I think about this, Sean, and like building lineups for ETH thresholds, the more I think the play really is to just sell all of them in January and February.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, don't try to like time the top, but you'll see like if there's a big increase, like it happens around the same time that we start to see the European prices go down. And I mean, you still have, 4 months of utility out of those cards, and then if you win from those, you can buy MLS cards and or America and Asia cards to like get you through the summer. Like I think there's a much clearer trading path with this conversation than last week's.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with that plan of action that you're probably buying guys that you like now for $250. Then you are selling them in February to buy European guys that will get you 4 months worth of production. And then I would probably repeat the same cycle again in like July, where you sell your European guys and you start buying American guys again and Asian guys and ride that wave until you get to a point where you're stable enough where you don't really need to ride that wave and you can just have players set. That's the best way to sort of increase your value, because that's going to be a surefire way to make it happen in comparatively to playing. So the issue with it, Laird, is that you will probably have, if you do this correctly, you'll never have a dead spot. You will just consistently ride the guys for the most part through waves, and you'll be able to sort of avoid the dead spots that you would have otherwise.
Yeah, I will say
a little bit of a downtime, but not like full seasons of downtime.
Yeah. I'll say that this type of strategy is like really, it requires like a ton of patience, because it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy this card and I'm going to use it in 3 months, which really is not that long. But in Sorare, when we have game weeks twice a week, like it feels like an eternity. And it's like every Tuesday and every Friday, you see on Twitter, everybody posting their rewards, and you're just sitting there like, I'll play in 2 months and then I'll be in on it. And it's like, it's just not as fun. So like, honestly, it's the trading strategy of buying in the off season and selling in the lead up to the next season, based on all of these graphs that we have, like it works, but it just requires like an extreme level of discipline and patience that I don't have, but it's there. And so if it's something that you think you can do, then I think it's like a very reasonable strategy to try to do this. So let's just jump in, because why not? So
this is where we tell people to buy Carlos Gil, right?
So it's not. So he is, I actually didn't put him on this list.
Wow.
Mostly, so
Laird is just disrespectful over here currently. Like,
so he was at like 1.9 ETH, and I was just like, that's already a lot. I think it'll be higher. I don't even, so now I have this in fiat for the video. I don't even know what these numbers actually are. But I think the limited prices are actually underpriced. Like I think he's going to really run up for limited, and I just didn't think of that enough in the lead up. But
yeah, I guess we like to throw our disclaimers in before we get started. Disclaimer on stuff is we do not know every single guy's contract situation that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
Because like I know a lot of people's contract situations in the MLS and Asia, but I don't know every single player's, and especially some of the guys we'll be talking about today. We cannot know all of their contract situations. So like if we are saying something, again, we are not saying go buy this guy immediately. We are saying go do some research, look at his contract, see if it makes sense to buy the guy that we are talking about.
And even with that, we may know the contract situation, but we know from other football situations, they don't really matter. If the player wants out and they have a deal. Somebody brought up Mauricio Pereira in the chat. There were rumors now that he could be going to Uruguay, which is an uncovered league as of now. Orlando City wants him back, but like that doesn't always mean he's going to be back. There were some rumors about Nicolas Ladero doing the same. I think those rumors were much more at the beginning of this season about how this like could be his last. We do have like goalkeepers who are clearly towards the end of their career. They may just decide it's actually the end. Looking at you, Tim Melia and Stefan Fry. And so we just don't know. So that's the risk of doing this 2 and 3 months ahead of time, or 3 and 4 months ahead of time, that just situations can change and you just don't know what happens. That being said, Carlos Gil is more than 10 times our budget. And so unfortunately, Sean, he is not going to make our list today.
That is unfortunate.
Do you have anyone that like a type of player that jumped out at you? Because I had one and I made him the thumbnail, and
I didn't even see who made the thumbnail, and I don't have anyone off the top of my list.
So Michael Bradley.
Oh man, you just saw Andy Black talking in chat about Carlos Gil, and then that led you right to Michael Bradley, didn't it?
Michael Bradley was the thumbnail to this, which I made a long time ago, like at least yesterday I made it. But I'll admit that Andy is one of the people that comes up when Michael Bradley comes up. As you can see from here, I happen to own a Michael Bradley super rare. And so I don't want to say I'm completely unbiased when it comes to Michael Bradley, but for the purpose of this exercise, his rare card floor right now is $64. Let me see what his last sale. Oh my gosh, his limited last sale was at $1.43.
Yeah, that type of card doesn't do you very good in limiteds.
So I don't know why this keeps bouncing to.
By the way, Vitaly is just trying to upset you in chat.
I know. Please, Enzo Perez not staying at River would just like absolutely crush me. So let's not. I don't even want. No Argentina, please. But anyway, so we had the last Michael Bradley sale of $64 3 days ago. He was $45 6 days ago, 43 8 days ago. So clearly somebody thought he was well worth it.
So people, I guess I do have a couple guys in mind now that we're talking about it. I think Diego Chara.
Well, guy. But before we start naming guys, I just wanted to explain that so Bradley here is obviously $65. And one of the best things about Michael Bradley is that he always plays.
Yeah.
And he always plays 90 minutes. And so if you notice his scores, he doesn't peak that much, but the occasional 65-ish type range is great. He plays with two of the best players in Major League Soccer. Occasionally you can luck box your way into an assist like that. So this is exactly the type of player that came to mind when I was like, this is what we should talk about. And he fits the mold. I don't know if $65 that's the floor price, 65.18 is too high for our purposes, but he just fit for me.
I mean, I think we both can agree that in America and Asia, it's going to be a lot easier to find people. We did not get any player of this caliber in the European watch list. It just did not happen.
Yeah.
So
look at this, Enzo Perez, the first.
Look at that.
But then Danny Parejo, obviously you're not going to get Danny Parejo for $60.
True. Oh, Diego Chara literally.
And there's your boy Diego Chara. Yeah.
Look at that. Perfect timing.
So yeah, Chara. Yeah, same thing. Just constantly churns 90 minutes.
His missed game. Well, he had some injury issues. He had a couple injury issues this year. Apparently, the last game of the season, he had stomach issues, and that was he was in the hospital. But his usual DNPs are suspensions because he picks up quite a few yellow cards.
I was going to say, because the guy is just loves the yellow card.
Yeah, he does. He loves his yellow cards. He picks them up quite frequently. And he goes and sits out for a game. But otherwise, he's pretty damn consistent in terms of actually playing and not sitting out at all.
Yeah. Yep. So another one where did that go? I just lost somebody mentioned. Here it is. Lairdinho Sorare, Darlington Nagbe.
Nagbe, I feel like he's going to be a little bit too expensive. Maybe I'm wrong. I had him at one point this year. I sold him.
Let's see what the Darlington Nagbe. I would assume that he's more, only because he's certainly younger. Yeah. Oh, $173 floor.
That's unfortunately a bit too far outside the price range.
Yeah. But he's the kind of player that fits the profile. I would almost say if you could find the similar players of Darlington Nagbe, then you might actually find some utility there.
I would agree
probably
with
Michael
that.
Bradley.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely again, it's a pretty comparable guy to Michael Bradley. It's just obviously a lot more expensive than Michael Bradley, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. Someone that could make sense is Larry Mabiala, but I just don't know what his contract situation is or his he was DNPing way too much probably this year, but I'm assuming he's dirt cheap. Yeah, $20.
Yeah, let's see. They claims he has another year. But yeah, that Portland center back situation was always strange.
It was rough to say.
I was a Mabiala super rare holder at one point, but I mean, no, I'm not even going to say his scores are even that great when he starts, but he does occasionally have the good game.
Yeah,
he's not a killer. I mean, for $20, I mean,
if he played every game, that would be pretty appealing for $20. It's just that's not the case,
right?
Another guy I was thinking of was like Danny Wilson for Colorado, but again, maybe a little bit too many DNPs. Man, this is actually a good one. I'm surprised he's this cheap. I don't think we can realistically get to him, but like Daniel Lovitz is like $69.
I feel like Lovitz is a classic. Like we think he should be a better scorer than he is, but maybe I'm
No, like he spikes. He has some big spikes.
definitely. Well, wasn't he like sporadically on set pieces?
Yeah,
Like that's why he
he
spikes.
will be on some set pieces at times. So
$69 average, but $96 floor. Yeah, I mean those. Yeah, yeah. That all around is actually better than I thought it was.
Yeah, like he's not
-12.
He's pretty good. Okay, I got one for us that I think I like. Nicholas Ismet Martin or Marin from Kansas City.
Yeah,
his contract's up. That's the issue here. Is his contract's up. But he was pretty locked in and pretty decent, I would say, for majority of the year.
Can I spell his name? Isn't it
ISIMAT?
ISIM. There it is. Yeah, I think Sporting Kansas City is kind of a weird one because they were so bad this year, but like they have good players. Like I actually think if you just bought like 5 Sporting Kansas City players, Shallowy, Russell, I mean, if they could get anything out of Alan Pulido this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is exactly the type of threshold guy you want.
Yeah.
Like right there.
Another guy that I see is Nick Hagland from Cincinnati. They were improved, and I think they're going to get better. Like they might get worse offensively because like I think we might lose like Brandon Vasquez and stuff, but like they should continue to be improving on a defensive part of the equation. And if they improve defensively, like that's a good thing. You could get Aaron Long, who's going to go to like Barcelona or something.
West Ham.
Yeah, oh, sorry, West Ham. My bad.
West Ham.
I mean, is that really much different than Barcelona?
Yeah.
Maybe. Sorry to all Barcelona fans up here.
Yes, it's very. Is West Ham still in Europa? No, they were in Conference League.
They're in the Conference League.
I saw them in the Conference League.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, you went. That is correct. You saw his possible team that could happen.
That's right. That's right. So a few names from the chat. Alex Wilson threw out Matt Hedges, who
Gator guy's favorite guy.
Is a big Gator guy player.
Gator guy's a big fan of Matt Hedges. Somehow ends up in his gas 3 frequently.
$94 floor, which feels a little high when the averages are 64.
Yeah, I think the
last
issue
sale
is
38. Oh, look at that! 31 minutes ago, someone paid $78.
Yep.
A day after somebody paid 50.
Yep.
But Pavel's got one.
Unfortunately, that's not going to cut it because you really need to be in the $40 to $60 range, I think.
Yep.
Which makes things a bit trickier. Because that's part of the problem, right? Is like with this type of tight cap, the difference between like $50 and a $90 player is massive.
Yeah.
So it's just not as functional as it is. More Shiggy's a good shout.
Somebody in chat threw out more Shiggy. Where
again, it's the issue is it's a bit too expensive. I just think that we will be looking likely at a cheaper price range to make things work.
He's no spring chicken either.
He is not a spring chicken. That is valid. But typically, I think you're going to need to go a bit cheaper because it just isn't going to cut it at like $80 on a defender. I just don't think you're going to get that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Going through some of the other names, somebody threw out, Baptiste threw out Dave Romney and Jonathan Mensah.
Well, Mensah would make sense. I don't know how much he is. I feel like he's more expensive than what we're looking at.
Yeah, as somebody who owns some Jonathan Mensah cards, he's not. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought it would be out of the price range. Yeah, you own Mensah, but like you're trying to play Mensah in different lineups that are more necessary for him to be good, and that's not the case.
Needing him to be good is always a great feeling going into a game week.
It is.
Keegan Rosenberry, $92 floor. That's probably still a little more than we were thinking. Someone threw out, this was Pablo Valentin, excuse me, threw out Boxall. So Boxall's an interesting one. We brought him up, I remember, when we were talking about super rares, because we were like, he spikes enough, and he's usually, it's actually more yellow than I was expecting. Like Minnesota just had so few clean sheets this year.
All right, I got one for you, Laird. Park Min Gu.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about, Sean. All right.
I mean, I don't do the Korean league, so that league is the league that I sort of stay away from, because for all I know, he could go off to military service immediately.
Yeah, I think this is a classic one that we hope that somebody
would know.
Chat can tell us.
Yeah, but if you look at his scoring for what you're getting for $25,
actually seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, that's a good option, I think, for what we're looking for here.
Yeah, why not? Somebody, let's see. Jeremy Graham said Ronald Matarrita.
Yeah, I mean, he should be back to injury. He's probably pretty cheap right now.
Yeah, he had a pretty serious injury for a while.
And he was coming back and then got injured again, then was coming back again, and then the season ended.
Fun fact, one of the first cards I bought on the platform, Ronald Matarrita, when he was still with New York City. In fact, I believe I bought him and he was traded the next day.
Yeah. All right, Laird, I got another one for you. Hiromu Mitsumaru. Giving us the good cheap guys here, Laird.
$42 for, sure, why not?
Yeah, that's pretty good for that sort of price point.
Yep.
Did you see, by the way, Laird, Yuki Kobayashi might be going to Celtic?
I did see that.
Do you have his?
Then I heard that our good friend Quinny said there was like no way he would start, and I was like, oh.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree. However, like, they are playing a guy that can't start for the United States at center back end.
I think that's more about Greg Berhalter than it is about anything else.
I'm not arguing. Can't argue that fact. That's pretty realistic.
How much is this? Somebody brought up Shuto.
Too expensive. You guys are shooting too expensively today.
Yeah.
You guys are acting like we have a $500 budget.
Yeah. It's a lot of you guys have clearly watched a lot of Sean. Just spend more.
I'm the one over here giving us cheap guys, Laird.
Yeah, I know. It's a bizarro world. What do you know about Kimbo Kyung for Jongbak?
I actually saw him. I have his card and someone offered for it today, so I figured there must be some rumor with it that's a positive rumor.
Okay.
So I'm going to assume that there's a yes to this because I got an offer for this card today.
Okay.
Literally this exact card, I think. Yeah, Kimbo Kyung. Someone sent me a terrible offer for it. They did not offer me whatever the price point is that is listed.
Okay. I was gonna say it's funny that you were like it's a horrible offer as you had no idea who the player was or like what his situation is.
I don't even look at stuff if I just know it's terrible. Like if I just know something's terrible. No, I guess the offer wasn't that bad. I got offered $23, which was last sale, so I guess it was reasonable. If someone's offered me $23 for that out of the blue and it's not listed, that must mean that something's happening with him.
Yeah. I feel like we're just getting every FC Tokyo suggestion here.
Yeah, but to be fair, like their guys are not bad. Like
this looks pretty nice. Who is it? Looks like a Keigo Higashi.
That looks like a pretty great card for this purposes of this. What about wait for it? One of your favorites, Kim Min-tae.
If I knew what his situation was,
he started 100% of the last 2 games, Laird. You probably still have his card.
He smashes when he starts too. It's like
he had 2 relatively good games.
Let's see, a red card, and then what happened here?
He got injured for a while. I think he picked up a pretty severe injury at some point.
I'm trying to see. He had an own goal. So an own goal, and a red card are these 2, and then everything else. I love this guy. I wish.
You love him.
I wish he could find himself some regular playing time. That's all.
You love him so much that you actually paid me once for his card.
I did.
What did you pay for his card?
whatever $327 is.
0.17 ETH, Laird. Oof, that hurts. My bank account appreciates that donation. I will say, of all people that buy cards from me or like that are affiliated with having bought cards from me, you probably are near the bottom of what you get out of those guys.
The good thing is that I know never to buy a card from you again.
Well, that's not.
It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with me. You just are
nothing.
a disaster.
Yeah. So you're a. Oh wait, no. This is somebody else. What was the next one I was going to do? So this is Huang Xiak Ho from Sagan Tosu, who seems fine.
Looks
Center
solid.
back with decent AA for 55 is a little high.
Kim Tae Hwan, Laird. But the one from Ulsan, not the one from Suwon.
I was going to say, I own the Suwon one.
Yeah,
That's really funny.
The Suwon, you want to see a bad buy, Laird? That is the single worst buy I've ever made on the platform. Okay, go look at it. It's so bad. It's gonna.
You have a super rare?
Kim Tae-won super rare. I bought it peak boom, and there was absolutely no U23 defenders out there that looked decent. And at the time, he looked decent.
I definitely remember this.
Okay.
Ooh.
But like you gotta look, like the 1.5 ETH was probably when ETH was like 4,000. I'm not even kidding.
There you are. Yeah, 2,200.
Okay, so yeah,
next highest was 1678.
Literally don't have another buy that's like even in the like area code of how bad that buy was. The second best buy probably.
Wait. You bought? Did you sell it?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think so.
Number one. This says bought by. Did you buy two of them?
I might have bought two of them. I might have. But I probably didn't. I don't have two of them, so I definitely sold one of them if I.
Oh.
But you literally never a worse buy.
That one hurts. Yeah, I definitely have one as well that I overpaid for. Let's see here.
My second worst buy on the platform, Laird.
Just on the way up.
My second worst buy on the platform was Ryan Thomas for PSV, but that was more because he literally got injured as soon as I bought him and like has not played a game since then. Like he was legit like locked in at PSV and then just done.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know if I've ever.
I want to just point out a point that I think it was Misaki just brought up. Kim Tae-hwan has midfielder and defender cards. So actually these scores that we pulled up were his midfielder. His defender ones
slightly better.
Yeah. Slightly better, yeah. So good. Thank you, Misaki, for pointing that out. So this is like so helpful because like we said, we're like neither of us are K-League experts. Let's see who no. Glenn brought up Race from Gwangju, who's being promoted to K1. That's fun.
Well, he was really good.
But he's expensive.
When he first came, he was really good. Like he was like really good, and then he just fell off a cliff because like he was in the top league the year before.
Yeah, that's too much, unfortunately, for our purposes. What do you know about Kota Mizunuma?
I mean, do you really want to deal with the dumpster fire that is Muscat? I mean, he's been really consistent the second half of the year, but like there's been so many injuries, like Marcus Jr.
Yeah.
Anderson Lopez was suspended for a long time. They just have had a lot of issues. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Does he have a forward card? Check see if he has a forward card because
no,
he plays as a winger. So if he doesn't have a forward card, I don't know. Like he's good and he does score well when he plays. But man, you are asking for some trouble in that situation in regards to him. Here you go, Laird. Cheap as we can get, Leo Silva. Mr. Old. True story. I tried to buy his unique at one point and did not happen. I don't know what the situation is like. But he has signed for one more year.
No, January 2023, which is this next.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right.
I mean, I'm not sure. I think we can find better options. How much is he? Oh, $10. Okay. Okay.
I wouldn't have brought him up if he wasn't like $8, Laird.
I'll give you that one. We'll put him on the list. If anybody has any idea what is going on with Leo Silva, let us know. But it's my understanding that a lot of these contracts are all basically 1-year deals that will get picked back up again. So there's that. I'm guessing that our list includes 0 forwards so far.
I'm working my way there, Laird. I just did midfield in Asia. I'm now going to midfield in America, and then I will go to forwards.
Yeah, I'm just going to skip right to forwards.
You skip to forwards. I will continue looking at midfielders for us.
Yeah. I would say just look out for things like Gonzalo Higuain, who's only $15 and also never playing again.
True. Is Pedro Santos going to somewhere that could be covered?
God, I hope so, Sean.
But I'm going to take it as you don't know.
I don't know. I know there was talk that they might try to re-sign him, which
just for like a cheaper price point. I mean, it makes sense. I thought he's one of the better left backs in the league before he got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, you have called him the second best midfielder in Major League Soccer at one point. So
he was really good for a solid 10, 15 game stretch.
Yeah, this run here was like really
good run. It was like a locked in 60 with sets and PKs where like you had upside if it ever hit. It obviously wasn't going to hit often, but you had the possibility in it.
Yeah, I will say that most of those sets came with Zelarayan out. So
correct, but at that time, like Zelarayan was out.
Yeah. Okay.
So like it definitely makes sense. Remember, you want to know the most ridiculous price points of the year? Paul Arriola. Remember when Paul Arriola was worth like an ETH, and it's like, guys, this guy has like a 10-year track record of not scoring a decisive every game. Like, I'm pretty comfortable saying that it's not going to happen again.
I remember like really pushing our friend Keith to sell it, and he was like, "I know I have to, but," and it's like, please just.
Like I think I won one, and it was out of my gallery within like 2 hours.
I mean, yeah. Let's see. Who is this fella here? Tariq? Are they going down? No.
No, they're staying up.
I mean, this is a forward for $30.
Definitely on the options. I just don't know what's his contract situation.
I don't know any of them.
No, I mean, some guys will have above 1 year, but like, the problem is like if he leaves, he's probably going somewhere not being worthwhile, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you just start every game and you're a forward for $20, I feel like it's reasonable to.
No disagreements on that one.
Yeah. Who brought this guy up? Mike Basson brought up Yuya Yamagishi, but it seems a little expensive for me.
You know who's probably a good buy? Renato Augusto. Because he had an absolutely awful year where he was just injured all year, and he is old, but like I can't imagine he's not brought back and utilized. No, not that one. The other one.
Corinthians?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, this was a guy that was like really good and like really good. And I just don't think we're gonna like look at this. Like, this is a good card. And then he got injured and just never really recovered from it. Even like when he came back, he still put up some major games.
Mm-hmm.
I can't talk about Corey Burke. Dude stinks.
Yeah, Corey Burke is awful.
He's never going to start, and he just stinks.
Yeah. When he starts, Philly's in trouble. Is he even still there?
Yeah, he is. He scored last night, actually. He put the game away against your team, Larry. You must have missed that.
I turned it off at 2-1. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, he was the third goal. Was like the first thing that wasn't terrible he's done in like ever.
Is Tesho coming back? He doesn't start, though.
He doesn't start. Doesn't matter.
Fun fact, a Tesho brace gave me my first DraftKings GPP win.
No, that's fun. I wish that we knew about Jan Grey Goose, if Jan Grey Goose was going to come back and like start, because Jan Grey Goose is really good if Jan Grey Goose played.
That was such a weird situation. I, at one point this year, like earlier this calendar year, had a 1 ETH offer for his super rare rejected, and he was like benched like the week later. Like that's like one of the saving graces I've had in this game.
Yeah.
Like it was like right around here, and I was like, "Yep, he's a 1 ETH."
Here's a good one. Someone mentioned it in chat. Jeremy mentioned it in chat, but Che is a really good option that we should definitely have on the list. Like really good option.
When does Brazil start up again, though?
I don't know. I haven't heard when Brazil starts up. Does anyone know when Brazil is expected to start up again next season? Oh, here's another one that's a good option, Laird. Junior Moreno.
What is oh yeah, he just
Add Che to the watch list, yeah.
Yeah.
Junior Moreno is a good option for cheap. Che is actually like decently good.
Yeah.
Matt said April. Brazil doesn't start till April, Matt?
Well, they're still going. Like the current season's still going.
Yeah, but it ends in like 2 weeks. It ends at the end of this month, Laird.
The end of November, you mean?
Yeah, it ends before the World Cup, Laird.
Sure. But that's like a reasonable break after that.
April, though, like that seems wild to me that it doesn't start till April. Jeremy said April again, too. Man, April for Brazil, that's crazy. That's a long time.
That is a long time. But yeah, I'm not buying anybody to wait and waiting till April.
No, April's too long. Because I will say that, like, in my opinion, people react to like Asia or people react to like America. They base it on MLS. The way that pricing works is MLS based. Would you agree with that?
I think we see like an Argentina spike when people realize it's back in January.
Yeah, that's true. Baptiste said because they play their regional league. I forgot about their weird regional league thing that they do.
Yeah.
But they do get Libertadores games, and Libertadores starts earlier. So if you got a player on a Libertadores team, which to be fair, probably none of these guys are, because you're buying like lower end guys that are typically on worse teams.
Yeah, that's fair.
So poor Gonzalo Higuain.
What do you mean? He's choosing to retire?
He is. That's true.
Right.
Darwin Quintero is probably retiring as well, I believe.
I think you said that last year too, but he didn't.
Because he's $80.
If he was definitely coming back, you definitely buy him.
Yeah, if he was definitely coming back, you buy that for sure. I just don't know if he's going to come back or not. Daniel mentioned Daniel Rios, which I believe is Trip and B's guy.
Yeah.
But I think he's leaving. And I don't know where he's going.
I'm not sure I need to buy into that.
Yeah, I don't know where he's going is part of my issue. Nobody stands out super great.
Yeah.
Well, is CJ Sapong returning? CJ Sapong is probably an option.
I like this call from Jeremy Graham of Alan Cervantes, who I owned at one point because he was
I have a rare and a super rare, I think, but he's too expensive, not very good.
For threshold, it's great. Dude always plays, and he's between basically 40 and 45 and 55.
All right, I think you should add CJ Sapong, Laird.
CJ Sapong reminded me of this season. Like he had that run, and
he always has that run.
He was starting to feel like this season's Ola Kamara, and then he didn't actually keep going.
Well, yeah, that's difficult.
Yeah. So the other thing that the trickiest thing about doing something like this 3 months ahead of time is like if Nashville signs a striker, like Sapong's dead probably. And so
yeah, and I mean to be fair, that's probably where they should be spending funds.
Sure,
would be striker. Jay Vick mentions Fabian Herbers. That could be an option. I don't know what his situation is from a contract standpoint.
Is he still?
I think he's leaving Chicago. I just don't know what the situation is.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't start consistently for Chicago, you're really going somewhere else to start.
True.
Unless you're Robert Barrick. Franco Yara, what do you think of that call?
I mean,
Somebody just re-signed for Dallas.
It's impressive to be a DN or to be a designated player and not play.
Never start.
Like, you suck if you are a designated player and don't play in the MLS. Like, you are embarrassingly bad.
So Finn Crocker said Quintero is going back to Colombia, most likely, confirmed leaving Houston. Colombia's covered though, aren't they?
I don't know. I can't keep track.
I'm pretty sure they're covered.
Track of what all is covered. It could be. It totally could be. I know Chile's covered. I know Peru's covered. Brazil, Argentina. It would make sense, I guess, if Colombia is covered, but I can't guarantee that.
Maybe I made that up. Why did I think they were?
Because you can't keep up with it either.
Yeah, I guess that's fine. Jeremy also brought in Giuliano from Corinthians.
He's a midfield card. I don't know if he has any forward cards.
Okay.
He might. I'm not sure.
Colombia is covered. That's good.
God, I just got to Corey Burke too. There is not much as options as forwards here. It's just.
I mean, that's always the problem.
Yeah, but it's even worse than it usually is elsewhere. Like, there's not much. Shuto Machina's on auction. I was going to say that's a good card.
Is that? Oh, no wonder that was annoying to me.
Way to go, Laird. I mean, I'm just struggling to find a forward under like 0.1 that's like. But I haven't got to Asia. I'm just going to Asia now. Oh, here you go. This is the guy. His contract's over though. Man, that's unfortunate. But Carlinhos Jr. would have been a great option.
I was gonna say he just popped up here.
Was just getting back to healthy. Was playing every game. Oh, they're probably getting down too. I
was gonna say, isn't it good though that he's not going to be with them?
That could be a good card. I just don't think you can take that flyer here. If he was like locked into starting somewhere, it would be like lock button. That would be your buy.
He's another one that I'm pretty sure I had like a 1 ETH super rare bid or offer on once and got rejected.
I could see that. He's pretty good from a what you're looking for here perspective. Like, he gets the job done a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. To go back to the Corinthians thing, like, I don't have any Corinthians players, but all I know is that everybody just hates the rotation. And so
I do. I bought a stack before the season started.
Yeah. And so there's just like, for the purposes of saving money to do an E threshold team, there's nothing you want to avoid more than rotation.
Yeah, it's bad. So here's an option. I don't know that they're going down, but he could get another spot, is like Manuel Palacios. Before like last year, he was actually pretty decent. And he could be a guy that maybe would make some sense. I'm not super familiar with his situation.
Who is it? Ezekiel Palacios?
No, Manuel.
I'm going to say Ezekiel would make no sense.
Yeah, I do not like the forward options that I'm staring at here.
Yeah, like this.
The problem with, like you said, with the Asia players is that like so many of these guys are on 1-year contracts. So like another option I have is like go look at Gabriel Xavier. Because he seems to be a pretty good option. I just don't know if he's going to stay there. I would think he would, based on the end of the season. He seemed to be pretty involved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so chat saying Geraldinho. He looks like a buy.
Geraldinho.
He used to play for Santos. Now he is in Chile, and he looks pretty good.
Where? Jay.
Yeah.
Geraldinho. Come on now. Sound like Andy now. Sure.
That looks like a good option to me.
$67. Why not?
Like the last ENP he had was at Santos.
Right.
So like he has started 100% of games with this club. So like I'm pretty confident that was a great call by Mike Baston of all people, Jeremy Graham. Both of them gave us that as an option. So like,
when does When does the Chilean season start up?
Could not tell you, Laird. So yeah, you guys that are giving us this Chilean option, when does the Chilean league start?
Yeah, you got to show your work. No credit
show
just
the
for
work.
the answer.
Yeah, I have
Jeremy
no
mentioned
idea.
Walter Boo, who I think was like much more expensive than I think we could.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think Walter Boo is more expensive than what we're. Oh, Geraldinho just got injured last game. I hope that it's not serious, you guys. Otherwise, you're letting us down. Vitali said around the 15th of February. So I'm fine with that then. If they're going to start around early to mid-February. Yeah, so Alex brought up a good point. So he said there's a problem with Chile, Colombia, Peru is that there's tons of coverage issues that happen. There really is. That is a tricky thing that you have to sort of move around because there are constant issues with coverage. And if you have a coverage issue when you're trying to grind Threshy, it's a bit difficult.
Right. Getting the 0 is not going to work for you. Simple as that.
Lairdinho just said that his team is last of the table as well. So I don't know what the situation is there, but maybe we are not going to buy Heraldinho, as Laird will say. Sepulveda. Where's Andy Black? I'm pretty sure Andy Black hates Sepulveda.
We're talking about it's very, very important to get guys who play.
Yeah.
Where do you fall on $45 forward eligible Kevin Molino?
I have no idea what the expectancy is from Molino. What's the expectancy? Is he staying in Columbus? Is he going to play in games? Because he was playing at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. I think he plays when he's fit. And that's a huge if.
What's the scenario? Is he staying on that team? Are they planning on having him in their is he expected to be there?
My guess is they would love to plan around him being there, but he gets hurt so much that I just don't know how.
So I don't. That's not totally.
No, he should not be on our list. I just had to bring him up. That's all.
No. I mean, as a forward, that's fine. He should not. The issue with him is that his injuries have been massive injuries with Laird, not minor injuries.
Yeah.
You should look up Sepulveda. I think he's an option for us at forward. We don't have any forward options. Does Molino even have a forward card? I feel like all of his cards are mids.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. The new season cards are
okay.
forwards.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the deal is with Molino. Sepulveda seems like he's a good option here.
He's not cheap, but you're right.
No one's cheap at forward, though. We need someone that fits the bill.
Yeah. But yeah, Molino has, I meant to, 500, and he's mostly a forward.
Actually. I think I have one of his mids. I didn't know he had a forward card. Eric Ramirez is Jeremy just mentioned. I looked at him. I don't know if he is good enough option.
Nacia.
There's just lots of question marks. Otherwise, he's fine. So you can have the list.
I'm not sure I'm spending $100 of 250 on this guy.
There is no way Fat Canola is that cheap. Oh, he is. Imagine. Wow, he's 0.08. Wouldn't have guessed that. I have a super rare.
$100 last sale ish.
I just don't see him as a consistent starter. Because the issue is they have literal 2 locked in starters, and I just don't think he's going to be there as a locked in starter.
Yep.
So, all right, Larry, we're going to compile the team here.
Juan Garcia.
Throw him on the list. A little bit too expensive, though, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. All right, let's see what we got here.
All right. I am not.
We have 6 forwards, so we're not that bad. If we just took the cheapest one. I don't know what to say about this Tarek or Tariq guy. He's just too cheap for me to think that he's a viable option. Do you see anyone here?
oh man, they all suck. Sepulveda is probably the best, but like, I mean, probably Gabriel Xavier based on what we saw. But again, people need to check on what the situation is, but he seems to me to be the most appealing. Age isn't bad, was a lock-in starter on a team that isn't going to be relegation threatened, and had the ability to score some goals at the end of the year.
Right. All right. He's at 72.56. I'm going to include Quintero and just be like, use the whole, if he signs somewhere, then
Yeah, I don't
presumably.
think you can't buy Quintero though.
Now with the expectation he goes to somewhere in Colombia?
I just think it's too risky. I think you just have to buy like Gabriel Xavier right now with the info that we have currently this second. I think you have to buy Gabriel Xavier.
Yeah. All right, that's fine. I'll put him on the list. There was a comment in chat here from Vitali. What about instead of spending $250 for a threshold team, you buy players that are very likely to rise in price, sell them 1 week before the start of the season, and then make a $300 to $400 team? I would just say go back to the beginning. That's when we talked about it. But yeah, I think actually that's the best strategy.
That is definitely the best strategy. 100% agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're going to put in Gabriel Xavier. He's the guy for here.
Yep. And then again, we're going to try to do this without a goalkeeper. We do need to get one though.
The issue, so here's an issue, is it's going to be difficult or more difficult to be within one league than it was elsewhere. But we know he's in the J League, so trying to stick with J League, I think we go Kaigo Higashi. I think he makes the most
sense. That's what I was thinking.
So if we can keep everyone in the J League, we will.
And he is what, $43.76. I'm just going to go with floor prices for now.
Yep.
Just to make us get there. Do you think? Well, let's go to defenders, and then we'll see if we want to double up on defenders or midfielders.
So we have no J League defenders, which is a bit unfortunate. And we don't have any. K-League does match up decently well with it, just not perfectly well with it.
It's just not always, yeah.
Which is a bit of a tricky situation. We did not have another midfielder, I don't believe, in
Korea?
In Japan either. We only had one midfielder in Japan. Yeah.
We do have other. Oh, you know what? Oh, yeah. Not that we could buy. Like we could do the. Oh, no, never mind. Oops.
I mean, there are other good players and good options here, just not in the J League, which is obviously where we would like to go here if we can have that as an option.
Yeah. Let's kind of ignore that for now.
Okay. We're going to pretend these guys are in the J League.
No, it's not that. It's just, I mean, maybe we can just work our way around it.
Well, I mean, we can obviously work our way around it. It's just we're going to end up with non-compatible people.
Yeah. No.
He's in. No, Hwang Suk Ho is in.
Yeah.
The J
he's in the J League.
So
he just happens to be Korean.
So him.
Oh wait, these are defender though.
Yeah, but that we need a defender. So him.
Yeah.
Did you write his price down, Laird?
$55.
Okay.
All right.
What are we at, Laird?
171.34. So now if we look at both midfielders and forwards, midfielders and defenders, because I assume we're not going to pick a second forward given the prices that we were discussing.
All right. So I have Douglas Growley. Check out Douglas Growley. He looks like a good option to me in terms of like what's available in the J League that's relatively cheap. I'm guessing that he's cheap because people are anticipating he's leaving, though. That's my only concern.
Oh.
But he does the job pretty well outside of that.
That seems almost a little too ideal. He's a forward? Oh, defender. Sorry. Yeah.
Jeremy says Rio Takao.
Rio Takao? That sounds... Gamba. I feel like every year I've been on the platform, everyone's like, Gamba's going to be better next year.
That's been pretty standard breakdown.
Every year.
Solid.
Gamba should be better. This guy seems great for $44. Lairdin saying Avispa can still go to J2 is the problem. So maybe wait a week.
Oh, yeah, they have one game left. Yeah, but I mean, for them to go to J2, they have to get Gamba and Kyoto Sanga have to pass them this week. Then they have to lose the playoff. So, like, yes, they could still go down. However, it is less likely they go down than other teams.
Right.
It's pretty unlikely at this point they go down. But yes, they could also go down.
Yep, that's fair. All right, so if we do Gabriel, Xavier, Higashi, Hwang, and Groli, those four, we're at $207.91.
Perfect. $42 on a goalie.
Which obviously, well, you're not going to get a starter, of course, but you could get plenty for close to nothing. $28, 29. Kositani a little bit out of range, but you know. Do you have I mean, it's the same thing as before. Like, if you could get somebody who happens to be a backup, is actually on the game day squad, then like you should go there.
Yeah, if you can find
Didn't Ishikawa get a start every so often?
I mean, Sugeno's 145. That's
like he has to be like retiring or leaving, right? Like, there's no way.
I would think so, but I mean, again, like
we're just saying that because he's old, but like the prices have to. And like, this is like me that doesn't follow the J League at all, but like surely he is retiring.
One would think so. I mean, like you said, like at this point, we're just getting anyone. But like, if you look in general through the Asian goaltenders, there are guys that start games that are 0.1 ETH. Like Lee Tae-wee is 0.1 ETH floor right now, and he started a few games this year. So like, there's definitely people within the J League and K League that like No Dong Gone is 0.09. He started games this year as well. So like, there are people in the J League and K League that have started games that are cheap. Like it's out there, and there definitely are people that can start. Like Kajikawa started games this year. Granted, they're going down, but like, it's not unheard of that they would get signed for another team that gets a chance to play at some point.
Lee Tae-hwan going to the military?
I mean, wouldn't surprise me.
And the goalie from the military in Korea could be coming back, which is why Sugeno
is going to be replaced. That makes sense too. It's definitely a logical option. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Sugeno's playing based on the price.
Right. Like that's the only thing that I read into it. Like, he's too cheap.
You could buy Ryotaro Hironaga for $28.
Yeah.
And call it a day. Obviously, like, I would recommend going for as young of an option as you can find, because if you buy someone that is younger, you have more of a realistic shot that they get a starting spot at some point for even a few games. So there's definitely guys that you can find out there, but there's just not many. But there are options.
Wasn't Nakano supposed to start at one point?
He was, but then didn't.
But like,
as you see why he didn't. He was terrible.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, the goalie part of this just doesn't matter because you're just buying like someone.
Yeah. What's funny is that because you have so long, I would just buy another outfield player with the 250. And like, because you have 3 months to figure it out. Like, fair. I'm sure you could get, like, honestly,
Glenn, everyone we're looking at goalie's cheeks. They all suck. They're all bad. Yeah, I would buy another guy for like $40. Like, I would buy like Che. Like, Che was right around there. Che is actually a pretty good card.
Sure. Yeah. Like,
yes, I agree with that assessment that you just
like
said.
If you need
night season,
come the spring, if you need a goalie, Brad Knighton, who is $26.57 right now, is probably not going to be more than 29.
Correct. I would agree. So yeah, I think you go buy like Che or something.
Yeah.
And call it a day.
Yeah. I think the big difference is that if you're waiting, you could probably just get someone to flip instead of someone to play.
Glenn,
like
I'm
you don't need to make a lineup today, so there's no reason to fill it with a goalkeeper.
Glenn, I'm one of the best goalies in the world. I'm a well-renowned shot stopper and ball player. Like when the ball comes to me, that it's blasted out of the stadium. I'm getting 5 points for a sweeper, or 3 points. What is it now? 3 points?
3, yeah.
I'm getting 3 points. Like that ball is going out of bounds. Like it's going into row Z, or as the Europeans call it, row Z.
Zed, that's right.
Yeah, it's going.
Yeah, if you're buying a threshold team in the beginning of November, end of October for February or March, like just don't buy a goalkeeper now.
Lairdinho made a good point. So he's like, thresholds are great, but because of that, you realistically need a $500 for a decent team. That is probably pretty accurate. $500 would give you better upside guys that have a more realistic shot at hitting it.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, we're not going with that. We're going with the 250 because that's a lower price point for people to do. But like as you guys have seen over the last 2 weeks, like getting $250 isn't going to get you very much. So 500 definitely gets you a lot more. Like if we looked at 500, like we saw a lot of those guys that were like $100. We're like, this guy's pretty good, but we can't afford him. Like $100 on this budget, you can't really afford. Obviously, on a $500 budget, you can afford something like that.
I've done enough shows with you where I know that if you double your budget, you're going to get better players.
Yes, that's true. That's why I always recommend spend more money and get better players. See, Laird?
We'll finish on this question from Hansa. He said, as I started, do you think it's worth it to buy a team that can compete for threshold right now, which is a bit more expensive, roughly $300 US, or to wait until the World Cup ends and buy a better team? Are you buying a better team after the World Cup?
No, you have to decide what strategy you want to go with, which we've talked about on this show. You're not really buying a different team. Like you're buying the same groups of players. It's just whether you buy them now or later. And like if you buy them now, like I definitely recommend buying stuff now, but like you probably don't want to buy European players now. You'd probably rather buy American players, especially because the World Cup breaks like a month. Like I'd rather buy like American players, get them back in January and February, than buy European players that are already like suffocated price wise, and then sell them, buy European players for $500 instead of $250 because you earned more because you sold them off.
Yeah, I don't think prices on European players currently build in the fact that you lose a month of utility, a minimum of a month.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to lose a ton if you're in meaning of utility with guys from Russia or Austria. Like those leagues break for a long time. Even Germany breaks for a decent amount. And so like buying them now, not only do you get roughly 3 or 4 weeks worth of 4 weeks worth of utility from them before the World Cup break, but then you have to wait for them even longer. Like just wait. You're not going to make enough from now until the World Cup to justify the price that you're paying now as opposed to after the World Cup. So I would just wait on those.
I tend to agree with that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thank you to everybody who's joined us for the chat. The watch list will be available publicly, and anybody who wants to see it, the link will be in the description of this video. So check that out. Feel free to subscribe to it, and you can kind of track it along with the one that we did last week that focused more on European players. So certainly use that as much as you'd like. Thank you for anybody who's hit the like button. If you guys haven't, if you could please do that, that's always really helpful and appreciated. So gets the video in front of more people so that we can hopefully help more people who are trying to play this game. I'll be back later this week with Andy for Sorare Andrews. There's also a new SorareData NBA show that will be Thursday this week. We have a nice guest that a lot of people may be familiar with if you've played Top Shot. So certainly join us for that. And then Sean and I will be back next week for another strategy show. Thank you to everyone. And